Welcome, everybody, to the Afro-Euro Reco12 podcast. My name is Karen A., and I'm a recovered addict here in Jerusalem, Israel. I gratefully sponsor sponsees through the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous using our 12 Steps in 4 Hours workbook. And I have been reborn. Without further ado, I want to introduce you to my new friend, my colleague, my mentor, my special fellow, Nikki M from Canada, who is joining us from Luxembourg. I'll just put in one more plug about Reco12, darling. If you would like to pay forward a seventh tradition, you could go to reco12.com/support. We greatly appreciate your support. We have a great library of recovery resources, including Noodle It Out with Nikki, the Big Book Roundtable with Nikki, the Afro-Euro podcast with yours truly, and a number of other great recordings from amazing speakers of all fellowships all around the world. Welcome, Nikki M. Thanks for joining us.
Hi, Karen. I'm so grateful to be here. I hope my sound is okay. You know, it's always contingent on the internet. So we're here today. I was so grateful. The other night I was, God will visit me in my early mornings. I think that's when I really hear God, in the wee hours of the morning. And I was like, I need to reach out to Justin B. I want to do a podcast on Al-Anon, just Al-Anon. And then the next day, you, Karen, messaged me. You're in Europe, Nikki. Do you want to do a podcast on Wednesday? Now, if that isn't a God wink, if that isn't a God shot, I don't know what is. This is the power of the program. This is where the disease centers in my mind and the solution centers in my mind. So let's just dive right into Al-Anon. You know, Al-Anon, and I hope, Karen, you'll let me know when, maybe give me a little warning when time's up and how we can get into this. But why I wanted to speak about Al-Anon is because that's how I entered the rooms. I found these rooms 12 years ago through Al-Anon. And what does that mean? Well, my life was ending. I was out of control, trying to control my alcoholic, and I wanted to die. And one of my friends said, Nikki, there's a program. And I'm like, I don't need anything. I just need him better. And that wasn't true. And I entered those rooms a long time ago. And I really want to talk about what Al-Anon is. You know, Al-Anon is a family group, and it was founded in 1951. And it's the International Mutual Aid Organization for people who have been impacted by another person's alcoholism. And I've been impacted by another person's alcoholism because I grew up in an alcoholic household. You've heard my story, Karen. I've lost one stepfather to alcoholism. He took a pistol and did the unthinkable right in front of my mother while she was making breakfast. I also lost another stepdad, and that's how I have my last name. He actually adopted me because, this disease runs so rampant through my family. And he died at 47 years old. I'll never forget. I was 16 years old, and my mom came. I was staying with the father. I was young, 16, out of the house because of the disease of alcoholism. Excuse me. And I was living with my first baby daddy, the first father of my daughter. And my mom pulled up and said, your dad's dead. He dropped dead at work, 47 years old, heart attack from the disease of alcoholism. So I've lost two fathers. My biological father's still alive. And and in his life too. It's just a rampant disease. Everyone I know has been affected by this. And so, Al-Anon in AA, they suffer from a threefold disease. But in Al-Anon, I suffer from a twofold disease. I suffer from the spiritual malady and the mental obsession. I don't have the physical allergy to alcohol. Like, I can take a drink and not react like an alcoholic does. But I don't need to take a drink and I react just like an alcoholic does. If anybody has any questions on that, hopefully we can talk about what that looks like. And I wanted to also talk about what Al-Anon is. It's a worldwide fellowship that offers a program. So this is a program. And what's a program? It's a set of instructions with a particular outcome. It's a program of recovery for the families and friends of alcoholics, whether or not the alcoholic recognizes the existence of a drinking problem or seeks help. See, we're here whether the alcoholic gets better, whether the alcoholic is good, it doesn't matter. We're here because we are suffering from this disease. It's a family disease. And the purpose of Al-Anon isn't to come and we share our problems, but it's for mutual support, for a way out. It's really about a way out because alcoholism is a family disease. And I really wanted to talk about, because if you know my story a little bit about me, I have other recordings on Reco12 that people can look into or find some more information. But I do use the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous, and it's not literature approved in Al-Anon. And I found that really funny. So I Googled that last night and went down that rabbit hole, and I understand why. Clearly, it's not literature approved. That being said, most of the research I did find was that many people do use it in Al-Anon, and that's the way they found recovery. I know that's kind of our story too, where we really got rocketed, Karen, is when we found the big book. And, the early days, AA materials were used because they had very little of their own material. So they had to use it. Al-Anon was founded 16 years after the first AA, when AA came about. It was, I think AA was founded in 1935. So that's 16 years later. Lois, the wife, and Ann B., I think that was Dr. Bob's wife. They're co-founders of Al-Anon. So I really wanted to go through the preamble and break it down with everybody. When you go into an Al-Anon meeting, they'll talk about they'll say, the Al-Anon family groups are a fellowship of relatives and friends. And I like to say coworkers. My first sponsor that I got in Al-Anon, I couldn't find one. Have you ever been into an Al-Anon room and they say, raise your hand, and no one raises their hand because everyone takes one person and that's their sponsor for life and that's their sponsee for life? That's my experience. And I couldn't find anyone to sponsor me. I was a year in there and I was like, I need a sponsor. Everyone's talking about the sponsor. And I could not find one. No one really made the approach, of course. It's raise your hands if you need one. And finally, a guy in there, he said to me, I am so sick of you, Nikki, saying that you can't find a sponsor. And he approached me and he said, here's my number and we'll do the steps. And he was there because his coworkers. He worked in the industry, in the bar industry. He was a cater waiter. Excuse me, I have a frog in my throat this morning. That always happens when I need to record. And practice patience, Karen. I love that. And so I started working the steps with him because he was suffering the disease because of his coworkers. So it's not just friends, it's not just relatives. If your coworkers, if you're in an environment, your boss is an alcoholic, that's going to be a problem for you. And we share our experience, strength, and hope in order to solve our common problem. Our common problem is the disease of alcoholism. We believe alcoholism is a family disease, says Al-Anon, and it is. It penetrates and permeates everybody who comes in contact with this disease. And that changed attitudes can aid recovery. See, this is what Al-Anon's about, everybody. Sometimes we read preambles in different meetings. I don't care what fellowship you're in. It says that a changed attitude. This is what this is about, a changed attitude. And that will aid your recovery. Al-Anon is not allied with any sect, denomination, political entity, organization, or institution. It does not engage in any controversy, neither does it endorse or oppose any cause. There are no dues or fees for membership. You mentioned the seventh tradition, and Puerto Rico, I was talking to Justin about it. He supports so much stuff that we're doing, and, we have to give a seventh tradition. That's part of it. There are no dues or fees. If someone says, come to my meditation, but you have to pay $50 for it, run real fast, especially if it's in 12-step. Especially, this is all free work. If someone tells you, whatever, anything with money, you cannot mix the spiritual with the material. So please, family, especially Al-Anon members, we don't need to pay anything here. This is all free. Al-Anon is self-supporting through its own voluntary contributions. And I'm reading the preamble today, Karen, because I don't think we break it down enough. Al-Anon has but one purpose: to help families of alcoholics. That's what we do. We're here to help. So if you're in here just taking an Al-Anon and not sponsoring and not doing service, that's not what it says. We're here to help families of alcoholics. And how do we do this? I love this part. We do this by practicing the 12 steps. And where do the 12 steps come from? The Big Book of Alcoholics Anonymous. And if you read the 5th tradition of Al-Anon, it's actually italicized where it says, we practice the 12 steps of Alcoholics Anonymous. So I take that very serious. And where do I find the 12 steps of Alcoholics Anonymous? That's the 5th tradition of Al-Anon. I find it in the Big Book of Alcoholics Anonymous. So Karen, you can see I've had to write a couple resentments on Al-Anon and why they do not let the big book in that room. I just don't understand it. I want someone to make it make sense, really, because it just contradicts itself if you ask me. And we practice. Does anybody understand what that means? Practice. You have to practice this every day. And we do that by welcoming and giving comfort. We're comforters, everybody. We're comforters. That's what we do. We comfort each other. We comfort families and children and moms and dads. And so many people are dying, Karen. I may cry a lot because a lot of people are dropping dead, or they're the walking dead. And we do that by giving understanding. How do we understand? Well, we get armed with the facts about this disease. We don't give opinions. We share our experience, strength, and hope, but we get really armed with the facts so we can understand and give encouragement to the alcoholic. See, that's what it says in the preamble. It says we comfort families of alcoholics, and by giving understanding and encouragement to the alcoholic, because I'm going to go deep here. No alcoholic wants to do what they're doing. I want the people in the back of the room, the people walking and listening to this. No addict wants to do this. They have lost the power of choice. I lose the power of choice a lot. I react, I respond. I have a wicked tongue, Karen. I've stepped on your toes many times. I'll hit send real quick and I won't even think about hitting pause. And I step on the toes of people. The alcoholic does that too. We do that too. So we have to encourage and understand our addicts and alcoholics. And how do we do that? We do that by practicing the 12 steps. This is not an intervention program, everybody. If you think you're coming into Al-Anon to start an intervention, don't come here. Please don't, because it's not an intervention program. I think Lois said that, okay? That's not Nikki M saying that. That's our friend Lois saying that. And, at the beginning of the meeting, you'll hear this other preamble. It says, we welcome you. So everyone is welcome in Al-Anon. The other day, Karen, I had someone tell me, Nikki, you really don't sound like you belong in Al-Anon because I speak big book. And it's like, wait, did you hear my story? That's your opinion, because she's in Al-Anon too, but she's in all the Al-Anon literature. And my talk can be very, very hard because I speak big book. And so she said, and I got offended, but I had to remember that perhaps the people who wrong me are spiritually sick or just don't know. And when she said, you don't belong in Al-Anon, I've had someone in Al-Anon tell me, we can't help you here. You need to go to therapy. And that would have killed me. Thank God I didn't listen to that woman. That was about year 2 or 3. So that's about a decade ago. She said that to me. And I was like, I probably do need therapy, but I need you guys because I've been to therapy and it didn't help. And I paid a lot of money. I don't have any more money for the therapist. So be careful what we say to people in the rooms of Al-Anon, because we'll kill them. We'll kill them, plain and simple. And in my meeting, we started the preamble with this, my Al-Anon home group that I had. We welcome you to the Al-Anon family group. You say your name, whatever it is. And we hope that you will find in this fellowship the help and friendship. See, we're here for friendships. I need a friend that understands me. My sister, who's also in the disease of alcoholism, doesn't understand me. But my friend that I've never held, and I like to sniff people. Okay, not in a weird way, but in a good way. Like I've never held or sniffed Karen, but she's my friend. You're my friend. And we live in different countries. We've never seen each other, but you understand. You give me encouragement. You give me the fellowship and the friendship that you and me have been so privileged to enjoy. This is a privilege to make it into the rooms of Al-Anon, everybody. Hey, and Al-Anons, if you're in here, I'm talking also to the S-Anons and to the Gamma-Anons and to the Co-Anons. That's the Cocaine Anonymous. That's the Sex Anonymous. That's all of it. We all fall in one category. I know we have different fellowships, but it's all one disease, alcoholism. And in my research last night, when I got into to Dr. Google and I was doing some research, today when they did a survey in 2023, it was last year, 40% of people who are in Al-Anon are there for addicts, not just the alcohol. And most alcoholics I know aren't just drinking alcohol. They're actually in other things like the pill popping or the eating or the scrolling or really the sex addiction that wives have to deal with. It's not fun. It's pretty dangerous if you ask me. And so it says, we who have lived or live with the problem of alcoholism understand perhaps as few others can. See, I not only understand, but I overstand when someone comes to me and says, I'm dying in this disease of alcoholism or addiction. Not only do I understand, I get it because I'm an addict as I go deeper into the disease of Al-Anon. I've never met an Al-Anon that doesn't have an addiction. They're addicted to validation. They're addicted to control. They're addicted to their feelings. They're addicted to arranging life to suit their needs. This is what my sponsor, Cameron, one of my sponsors, I collect a few. I don't know, I'm going to paraphrase the battle cry of an Al-Anon. I'm okay if you're okay. If only you'll do what I say to do, then I'll be okay. The big battle cry, isn't it? And so I found, especially in Al-Anon, as I go deeper, because I sponsor a lot. Every Al-Anon I know has an addiction of some sort, whether it's sex. How about love? Nikki, I'm not a love addict. You love your alcoholic, and if he was to go away, you'd kill yourself. You're addicted to love. You're addicted to food. You're addicted to the money. You're addicted to your beauty because you're in the beauty shop every day getting plastic surgery on your face every other second. These are the things I have seen after 12 years in the rooms. This is a deep, deep, deep disease, the disease of alcoholism. And then it says, we too were lonely and frustrated. I was so lonely, Karen, before I came into this room. I could be in a room with 1 million people and I was alone. It's the most painful place to be. And frustrated, ask Cameron. I was running down in my Noodle Nikki robe, my leopard skin robe, down the street screaming, Dad! And it was a big joke on my street because I'm screaming at the alcoholic in my life or the addict in my life. Cameron, my sponsor, is my neighbor. God is so awesome. I'm sorry. Like, who would have known that the person who's going to sponsor me and help me out of this way of living, which was my old life, into a new way of living, was my neighbor across the street. I was lonely and frustrated. But in Al-Anon, I discovered that no situation is really hopeless. I discovered that in Al-Anon. I discovered that here in these rooms with you people, and that it is possible for Nikki to find contentment and even happiness, whether the alcoholic, whether the addict is still drinking or not. See, I apply these principles in all my affairs, Karen. And when my son was 15, my mother had just moved in with me. He's 19 now. He's 20, I think. He'll be 20 this year. Long story short, he was 15, wasn't coming home, typical teenager. My mom had just moved in, complete trauma watching her husband blow his head off in front of her. Okay. So she came to, I went to Arizona, got on a plane the next day with my big book. And I said, come to Toronto and live with me. She was in my home 2 months later and my son was running amok. And I had to look at him and I said, you can't live here anymore. 15 years old. I said, you have to go stay with your father. You have a choice. You can follow the rules here or you can go. And so he went to live at his dad's. And you know what? My Al-Anon program is so strong, I don't look back. I have not felt guilt or shame. I sometimes didn't speak to him for weeks, months, and I'm a control freak. I am addicted to control, and not my business. I trust God. And you know what? When I left my son alone, God did amazing things with him. God is working with my son, and my son doesn't even know it because I made a commitment to live this way of life. So my son's not an alcoholic. My son's not a drug addict. He's just a typical teenage boy. But I still found happiness and contentment, even though I didn't know what the hell was going on in his life. That's radical. That's radical. And it says, that's the preamble. So we talked about it. And I talked about, how Al-Anon adopted the 12 steps of AA, and they use their own words in the 12th step. And they say that we're to help others. Now, to me, others includes everyone. Everyone. And why was Al-Anon even born? Here's Lois, and Lois's husband is 16 years sober, and she wonders why she's not happy, even though Bill is sober. Is anybody there like that? Like your alcoholic gets sober, your addicts get sober. Hey, Nikki, your kids grow up and move out of the house and you're wondering why you're still not happy, people? Think about that, and that's what she had to do because her life purpose was to sober up Bill. What happens when Bill gets sober? What happens when your life purpose is to control your teenagers and your children, Nikki, and then they move out of the house? That's what happened with my 30-year-old daughter. See, when she went to university, my whole life was her controlling, managing, and making sure my daughter, I was a single mother for many years, and making sure she went to university, Karen, and I lost my mind. That's when I really hit rock bottom. And she was 17 years old, turning 18, going to university, all the dreams coming true. I couldn't drive. I had stress-induced paralyzed anxiety. I couldn't leave my house. It was awful. Because my life purpose was to control, manipulate, manage, and martyr and mother the world. And when she wasn't there to do that, what's my purpose, says Nikki. You guys help me find it. My purpose is to serve others. We all need a spirit. We all need to live by a spiritual program. What's good for the alcoholic must be good for me. Go to your meeting, says the Al-Anon. Go to your meeting. Go to your meeting. Well, what about you? What about you, Al-Anon? And I love that too, because Bill, that's when Lois really lost her mind. I read a little bit on Lois's story. Hey, if you're going to prepare for a talk, prepare for it, right? And Bill had asked her, are you ready to go to the meeting? And Lois lost her mind and threw a shoe at him and said, there's movies on this. Okay, you guys, there's great movies on Lois and Al-Anon. I think Winona Ryder, she played Lois in one of the movies, and she threw the shoe and she lost her mind. You go to your meeting. That's for you. Because remember, old AA people, if you're listening in, Al-Anons used to go to the meeting with you. It's a place for everyone to recover. Families would go. Wives would go to the AA meetings with the husbands. And so I wish we could all be in one room again. And I know it's 2024 and wishing is for children. But Karen, you and I are starting and crave the fellowship we crave. God's helped us, where everybody and anyone is welcome into our rooms. It's an open meeting. Anyone can come. No meeting should be closed, says Nikki M, says the big book, says, my theories and my thinking. Anyway, so Bill asked Lois to go, and that's how these meetings started, because she wanted her own way and her own meetings. And I want to talk about what's good for you must be good for me. So the Al-Anon literature focuses on what? Because we have the big book, but that's not literature approved in Al-Anon. I've been gifted with a fellowship that I crave. And so I was sponsoring, and one of my sponsees started an Al-Anon big book meeting. And that was amazing too. But here's the crazy part. And I should probably write another 4-step on this. Al-Anon won't list us because we're a big book meeting. Make that make sense. We're just here to help people. Anyway, let's talk about the Al-Anon literature now. We've talked about the preamble. We've talked about the purpose. We've talked a little bit about history. And we're going to talk about what the literature of Al-Anon focuses on. It focuses on excessive caretaking. Are you excessively caretaking? Yes or no? These are yes or no questions. How about it focuses on the inability to differentiate, the inability to differentiate between love and pity, right? Because I have to stay loyal. I'm so loyal, don't you know? I always throw in my astrological signs. I'm a Virgo. I'm a natural mother. I'm supposed to be, so loyal to the gates of insanity or death. I don't think so. Not anymore, says Nikki. The literature focuses on this, and Karen, you and I sponsor a lot, and we know this. Our members have low self-esteem. We hate ourselves. I come in here and I hate myself because the disease of alcoholism is all I know. I can't even find my mom and dad growing up because they're too busy in the bar. My self-esteem is very low. I have to go to get under someone to get any attention, if you understand what I mean. It's real painful when you're 13 years old and you don't have any parents around and you have to go to the bar to find them to get some lunch money. It's not easy, is it? And then the Al-Anon, sorry, I'm drifting out thinking of my dark past, knowing though, Karen, that it's my greatest asset. Al-Anon is really painful. It's the disease of alcoholism is very painful. And so our literature in Al-Anon, sorry, you guys, our literature in Al-Anon focuses on the unrealistic overestimating of my own agency and control. I have no control. I have no agency. Yet I think that I can control, martyr, manage, manipulate the world into how I want them to be. And then when that doesn't happen, what do? I blame myself for another person's behavior. I blame myself. I'm not a good daughter. If I was a better mother, if I was a better wife, if I was a better lover, if I was a better person, these people wouldn't do this to me.
Yep. If I was thinner, if I was more feminine, if I got my eyebrows done, if I went to electrolysis, if I got a college degree, if I got a better job, you people add in here. And I apologize for interrupting you, but it's real important to hear what you guys see, Nikki, getting humbled here and breaking down is so perfect because sometimes we talk about happy, joyous, and free. And the new alcoholic cannot relate to that. Like what, peaches and cream,
No.
Recovered doesn't mean hippy, skippy, happy, scappy, right? Go ahead.
No, thanks, Karen. I always want you to come in. So the Al-Anon literature tells us to keep the focus on self rather than the alcoholic. And that's why I love Al-Anon, because I have to focus on me. This is about me and how I have to have a changed attitude that will aid my recovery, says the preamble of Al-Anon. And I also put here on my note, I need to not just keep the focus on self rather than the alcoholic. I need to keep the focus on self rather than the world, Karen. You know this because you're in a country in a war right now. And if you start focusing on the world and the problems in it and the injustices and everything that goes down, you won't get out of bed, madam, and neither will I.
Yeah, all the newly amputated people with only one leg, with only one eye, estimated 1 million traumatized people from seeing stabbings, rapes, murders.
On all sides, on every side. It's not just in
I'm
your
not saying
country.
on any side.
Yeah,
all
and we're
sides,
talking even in Ukraine and Russia and all over the world. And I mean, there's war. There's a war in my city with fentanyl right now. There's a war in my city of Toronto with fentanyl and an addict dropping dead every day. Okay, so this is serious stuff. So I need to keep, hey, everybody, I got a big smile right now. When I keep the focus on myself, all that stuff goes away. It's just me and God. It's just me and my purpose to serve you. See, I remember that I did not cause it. I did not cause it. I didn't cause the alcoholic to drink. I didn't cause the addict to pick up their their addiction of any sorts. I can't control another person's choices, and I can't cure it. I can't cure this disease of alcoholism. I can only be responsible for myself. So I love that. You know, they say that the 3 C's, we didn't cause it, we can't control it, we can't cure it. The 3 C's. I just love Al-Anon. I mean, it's filled with so much beauty. My experience has been that Al-Anon has saved my life, because that's how I entered into the rooms of 12-step. Because when my sponsor, who was sponsoring me at the time in Al-Anon, said, Nikki, you have a sex and love problem. I said, no, I do not. That's for those people in the world. That's not for me. And then I got armed with more facts, and it was like, wait, what? I have that problem too? And then I got into deeper issues, and it was like, wait, I have that problem too? And then it was like, wow, but there is a way out. There's a way out. And then staying here long enough. That's the other thing. I've seen people come in. I want to talk about that too. Their alcoholic gets better. Their addict gets better. Their son goes into rehab. Their daughter goes, gets better. And it's Merry Christmas every day. It's Happy Hanukkah all the time. It's Kwanzaa every single moment of every single second. But guess what? They don't come to Al-Anon anymore. And then something happens, the certain trials and low spots ahead. And I've literally been in the rooms and seen it. They run. They don't walk in this time. They run in with the desperation of a drowning Al-Anon. And the flimsy reed, usually it's us. Because in Al-Anon, we make it we make it a little bit softer. We don't really use the word God. I haven't seen the word God too much in my literature. It's maybe higher power, higher power, higher power. Nikki, I love to talk about this too. The 3 obstacles to success they talk about in Al-Anon. 3 obstacles, which is domination. And I've been accused of being dominant in my Al-Anon group. Of course I have, because I'm watching people die on a softer message. So that's why I had to leave my home group and go create my own group, because I needed the big book and I needed the literature. I needed all these things. So dominance does not work in Al-Anon, and it doesn't work with Al-Anons. If you're Al-Anonic, dominance doesn't work. We don't like to be dominated. How about gossip? Gossip kills, everybody. Gossip and slander kills. And I have a big mouth and I talk a lot. You guys have taught me. See, the rooms of Al-Anon taught me how to behave in the outside world, where I can have God sit on my tongue and I don't have to respond and react to every single thing. Because in an Al-Anon meeting, unlike other meetings, there is no crosstalk at all. If someone's crying at the table and dying, I've seen it before, we do not interrupt. We just, at the end of the meeting, we'll go over and talk to them. But we just zip it up.
How hard is that? How hard is that? What about you people? I know Nikki and I both have overweight kids. What about not getting in your daughter's plate? You sure you want to eat that? Sure you want another ho-ho, another Oreo? I don't know. That's another 100 calories. How good does that work for us?
It doesn't. My daughter stopped talking to me for a moment because I was so busy watching her plate of food and watching her addictions. Just the other day, I said, oh, you're in another relationship, and how's that going to work out for you? And I went sideways and twisted, with my opinions. I'm not to have, here it is, the traditions, no opinion on outside matters. Oh, that's for the rooms, Nikki. No, that's a personal rule for Nikki M. I'm to have no opinions on outside matters. I'm not to have an opinion on what my daughter thinks, eats, what my son, how he dresses. Recently, I've been like, son, cut your hair. Why am I telling my son, who's 20 years old, how to cut his hair? I'm not allowed to do that stuff anymore. And let's go to the 3rd obstacle for success, which is they say, don't bring in religion. I'm looking at someone very religious on my screen, a few people, I know them, and they're very religious women and men. And guess what? We're not allowed to talk about that in the rooms of Al-Anon, right? And so I've actually shared one time in a general way, and I was scolded at the end of the meeting. I love to get scolded in Al-Anon. That's why I had to create my own meeting, because I get scolded a lot after the meeting, because I'll say something and I'll go, that's not allowed. And it wasn't it was my experience, strength, and hope. But Al-Anon is we're very sensitive people, says the big book, but we can carry that into Al-Anon. Al-Anons are the most sensitive people I know. And in our big book, Karen, that says it's a handicap. And you just said it. No eyes, no legs, missing an arm. That's a handicap. So is being sensitive. So if you're in an Al-Anon meeting and you're hearing something, just let it roll off you like a duck on a water's back. We're all sick people trying to help sick people for free. I mean, this is how it goes. It's really radical. It's just, I don't even know what to say. So the 3 obstacles to success.
It's hard, simple, not easy. A price had to be paid. That means if I can't shut up and not tell my daughter to eat a bag of potato chips, I take my 2 legs and go run to Pilates where I'm sweating too much to open my big mouth, right? Simple, not easy, right? If I can't control my speech, I got to control my legs and leave.
Oh,
right?
Beautiful, beautiful. Get up your legs and run. Take up your legs and run. And so I think the big thing for me that I've learned in Al-Anon the most is just to live and let live. There's a slogan. Why? I don't know how to live. So why am I telling other people how to live? Live and let live. This is a radical slogan. And why? I don't know how to live. And you guys are growing me up. You're teaching me how to live. I didn't know that I was supposed to live for God. I didn't know that my life was only to serve. I had no idea. I didn't know these things until I found you people. And then you told me why I exist. You told me what my purpose was. And I couldn't find it in church. I couldn't find it anywhere. I can't find it anywhere except in the rooms of any anonymous. And when I say any anonymous, I don't care what anonymous you are. If you know me, you know that I believe that there should only be one room, one book, and one God and one way of life, which is a loving, all-powerful God, a life purpose to serve everybody, all of God's children, and to know that nothing is missing and everything's exactly the way it's supposed to be. God's plan is so big, Karen. I think we should end there and get some questions in here. What do you think?
Great. Yeah. Thank you so much. This was so amazing because I've been there with you sitting in a fellowship waiting for a year and no sponsor or having a sponsor for 6 months and still not even being on step 1. And I just want to say, rather than do a step 4, I've learned to laugh. It's, I allow people the privilege and right to be stupid. That's okay. I sometimes am too, or, just like in the office when you do a lot of work on something and someone else takes the credit. It's like, okay. Anyway, We do have a question here, my love. Thank you so much. This is such a great topic. Oh, they're saying it was Lewis Wilson's birthday 2 days ago. Happy birthday, Lois.
Happy birthday. And thank you, Lois. Thank you, Lois. Thank you. I just want to say that real quick when they ask Karen, like, who do you want to have a meal with when you die? Like they say, if you can have a meal with one person. I used to be like, I won't even mention the stars and the names and these people, and then it was someone else. But now it's like, I want to sit down with Bill and Lois and really know what is going on. And are they happy with how things have turned out 80 years later? I mean, it's really interesting to see how we can water down a powerful message. I mean, it's been done over the years, in religions, in the big book. It doesn't matter where it is, the message gets watered down. So I'd really be curious to see if Lois is happy with the way Al-Anon is in 2024. I'll have to wait till I die to find that out. Go on. What's the question, Karen?
Okay, yeah, we have a question here. I'm going to share it anonymously because it was direct message to me. In Al-Anon in the UK, people are discouraged from sharing that they are in AA in case it upsets or frightens Al-Anon members who are living with active alcoholics. Do you agree with that, Nikki?
Well, I understand singleness of purpose. I do understand that. It's a singleness of purpose. Now, I understand here about anonymity. See, in AA, it's different when you're walking down the street. Say Karen and I are in AA. Karen, you and I, let's just say I'm not in AA
Yeah,
either.
yeah, yeah.
I mean, you know what I mean? We're
I'm not.
alcoholics and we're walking down the street and we're like, hey, Karen, hey, Nikki. And then your husband says, how do you know that person?
Right.
And we're like, well, we're in a program. That's how come you got a wife that's sober, because we're in this program. Now you walk down the street and Karen and I are married to an alcoholic, a raging alcoholic. And we've secretly been going to Al-Anon to deal with alcoholism. And Karen and I walk by each other and say hello. And my abusive alcoholic husband goes, who are you talking to? Who said hi to you? You understand, I'm going to get the beats and the licks when I go home if I'm married to a raging alcoholic who doesn't know how to control their emotional natures. That's why anonymity is so vital in Al-Anon, in any anonymous, because if you break anonymity and the wrong person in that woman or that man's family finds out and they are in the household with violence. This is why COVID was so disgusting. These little children had to stay home in the houses with their alcoholic families. The teachers are their support. All these community people are their support. But in North America, they were locked in the houses during COVID. And you don't want to know the abuse that went on during that time. So it's very dark in alcoholism and addiction. So that's why singleness of purpose and being very quiet and keeping anonymity very serious. What you see here, what you hear here, let it stay here is vital in Al-Anon. Because if I say hi to Karen and she's with her raging, lunatic, alcoholic, untreated person, we don't know if she's going to live to see the next day. Does that make sense? I don't know if that answers the question. Yeah, I don't know if that answers the question.
Great. I think there are a few answers here, right? I love what you just said, which is, safety, survival. And let's take a different cut at it. I'm an Orthodox Jewish woman. People want to marry off their kids. Let's talk about SAs and S-Anons, right? And I'm not looking to vilify my people. No, I love being Orthodox and I love Orthodox and holy people. Yet there, in every community, there are sick people and there are the people who are married to them. And that is very, very injurious for people to know that someone had a problem with any kind of sex addiction, perversion. Maybe they've mended their ways. The whole Torah, all Judeo-Christian ideology and other things is about becoming a better person. Certainly this program is, we are reborn. That means you may have been a molester yesterday, but you're not today. So that information is very damaging and also can hurt, the marriage prospects for children in my community. Let's take yet another cut. Employability. What if, an employer finds out you were in GA or had a little, butterfingers with the money issue? You might not get hired. So I just want to give you this panoply of answers of why anonymity is so important. It could hurt the children. It could hurt the safety. It could hurt the money of the family.
I'm going to give a real live example of that right here. Okay. I live in a town, we're in our little town here, in a little village where we live. And the priest was doing unthinkable things. And he, instead of, the whole town is now destroyed. Let me just put it that way. Instead of him, going to the properly appointed authority, doing what he needed to do, the whole thing was exposed. And it wasn't like it was consensual with congregation members. It wasn't little children. It was all these things, but the whole town is destroyed because he couldn't remain anonymous and do it the way that our program, there's a set of instructions in our books. This is why there are instructions. This is why there's ways to follow. I've watched one of the neighbors lose his whole life savings because of this, because of one person's choice, breaking anonymity, doing weird things has affected an entire, I'm not joking, Karen, an entire community. It's actually devastating to see. Devastating.
Well, we'll just pray for him and all the other suffering addicts and sick people out there. We have another excellent question here. Al-Anon by definition, Nikki, Al-Anon by definition deals with the family dynamic. I have noticed the child struggles in the exact, all caps, same area the parent does: food, anger, dishonesty. How do you model good behavior without coming down on them? Do you feel like a hypocrite?
Okay, so I'm sorry, I'm confused. What's the like? Say that again, Karen, one more time.
Yeah, let me see. Okay, so it's saying,
Start at
let's
the
say,
beginning.
right, it's saying that alcoholism, a family dynamic, basically the child often struggles in the same thing that the parent does. So let's say
Absolutely. Yes. And so
my
what do
daughter
we do?
struggles for my same old food, anger, and dishonesty. This applies to me, so I'm just making it easier
Yeah.
by saying, how do I model good behavior without coming down on them?
I'm going to tell you how. You follow this program. See, this is very radical, and most people will not make it, Karen. That's how you do it. You model this behavior. Step 12 says as we practice these principles.
Yes.
This is a principle program. So you practice principles in front of your children. You practice honesty, radical honesty without any justification. Yes or no? You practice being responsible. If you say something as a parent, you do it as a parent. You practice responsibility. You practice being helpful. You show them how to be helpful. This is very radical. You have to show, not tell your children. You demonstrate these principles in all your affairs. So what does that look like? You have to invite them into this lifestyle. You'll have to invite your children into this lifestyle. I have to invite my son who has no God and keep using these words, using this way of thinking. I've had my son. How do I do it? I'll give you a prime example here. He was, I think, in the 7th grade. He was mad at his math teacher. We did a 4-step. Put your math teacher's name, teacher, boom. Column 1. Column 2, why are you mad? Well, he failed me. He told you that I didn't do the test, blah, blah, blah. We wrote all the point for him. What does this affect in you, son? It affects your self-esteem. It affects your relationship because your mom is pissed off at you, son. So it affects your security because you're worried that you're not going to pass the 7th or 8th grade, whatever grade it was, blah, blah, blah. I went down the list. And then I showed him, where are you at fault, sir? You didn't do your homework, number 1. You didn't show up on time to class, number 2. And I just went down. So you're irresponsible. You're not honest because you told me you were going to do your homework. You weren't honest. You weren't kind because your job is to be kind and show up as a kind student to a teacher who gets paid to teach you. You were selfish. I just went down the list. And I said, there you go. See what happens when you live in these principles, son? But let me show you what happens when you live in these principles. When you get responsible, no teacher's going to call your mom, and you're not going to lose your cell phone privileges for the month. You see? And you have to show them. This is really radical. I do a 5th step with a 7th grader, or 4th step and a 5th step with a 7th grader. Big time, because we practice these principles in all our affairs. If it's good for me to put pen to paper, it better be good to my son to put pen to paper and show him that these principles is how you get your teacher not to call home and not to get your mom pissed off at you. Does that make sense? It's so simple. So simple.
Yes,
real simple.
This does make sense. And what I'm hearing and what Nikki's saying, and I feel, especially, what do you call it? As a mother of 6, thank God, I feel, qualified to answer this question. Right. When agitated, we pause. We live in 10, 11, and 12. I pray for the next right thought or action. Now, Nikki's talking about teaching them this book, mostly by example, by living it. And I'm going to bring in a different big book cut on it, is that, as a parent, I have a responsibility, right? My 8 and 10-year-olds are chubby, and they're getting more than chubby. I have to teach them about the food pyramid. I have to teach them that they have to have less carbs on their plate than protein and vegetable. It's a tricky balance. I have to teach, and then I have to not be a controlling maniac at the same time, which I am, untreated, living in the spiritual life. So, it's a fine line. And the way I take out insurance against my mania, against my addiction, my control, my anger that they're fat, because I want my kids to look good. Everyone wants their kitties to look like a little picture for Macy's or whatever. And the way I do that is I pray, and I pray to be helpful. And I'm armed with the facts that it is my job to teach them how to be a responsible, law-abiding, productive, happy human being. But I always have to check myself because I know I have fully conceded to myself that I'm an addict. I know that if I cross that line by a hair's breadth, I better, restart real fast. Well,
the other thing too, Karen, as you said, was
yeah.
I was just going to say, sorry to interrupt, is be responsible and not bring the food in the house. I mean, they're 8 and 10. They can't even go out and buy it themselves. Like my son is out there eating things, junk food every day and all these things. And it's, it's not a weight thing. It's just a health thing for my son. And because the food is poisonous right now in my country. And I just don't bring it in my house. And when I'm with him, so here's the amends, everybody. How do Al-Anons make the amends? I've taught him how to cook healthy. When we go shopping, we shop on the perimeter. We don't buy anything that's packaged. We buy fresh stuff. We go to the butcher rather than the processed meats, all these things. So there's ways that I can show him by being accountable, by being responsible, by being trusting. And when I say it, Al-Anon is if you're in AA or you're in any other program and you haven't come to Al-Anon, this is the heavy hitter program. This is the black belt, because this is where you practice these principles with everybody. What is Al-Anon? It's the people disease. It's the alcoholism where it's if you're not okay, if the world's not okay, I can still be okay. So radical.
Yeah. Radical. I want to throw something else in here because not everybody's here a parent. I want to give a non-parent example, although we do have a bunch on the line. How about this one? So my job is to be helpful. So I know at work when people are coming to my desk crying or in a bad mood or sharing with me, like I know I'm doing good because I know I'm not talking about me and I'm there for them. However, as an Al-Anon, you got to be real careful not to mother, not to control, not to fix their problems. So it's like someone came over and she's like, I don't have money for vacation. And she was really in the problem, not in the solution. And I was like, I'm gonna 12-step this mofo, and I did. And I was like, if I'm hearing you right, it sounds like what you might be going through in your boss sounds a lot like the relationship you had in San Francisco. So she's like, you mean everywhere I go, I'm going to be in abusive relationships? And I said, well, that's for you to answer. I'm not going to answer that. And I was like, I started making some helpful suggestions because it is my job to be helpful. So there's like a kitty at work for employees who have financial difficulties. I was like, you could apply. You could get up to $1,000. And then I was like, slow down, K-Money, slow down. And I was like, okay, I gave her the information. She is now armed with the facts. Put the gun down. Sorry, Nikki, gun is a sensitive topic in your family. Put the gun down and back away, right? But let Sarah figure it out. You told her she could apply for $1,000. And then I brought her the CODA book. I had the CODA book, and I actually opened it the first page. I was like, dang, this is good. I should read this. I was like, no, it's my job to be helpful. I'm going to write my name and number in it, and I gave it to her. Now, she may live or she may die. But that's it. But I had to actively stop myself from reaching in my pocket. I almost texted her that I wanted to take her out to lunch the next day. Now, she's not even my friend and I don't even like her that much. But see, I will try to do that because of that unworthiness and low self-esteem that I got to buy you something. It's like, no, I'm good because God made me that way. You're all good because you're beautiful and God made you all beautiful, not because you're buying someone lunch. Just to stop. So
God, Karen, we are twinning. I'm looking at the mirror and it's like, we look so different. We are identical. Cause that's what I would do. I'd be like, okay, not only let me buy you lunch, let me pay for your, it doesn't stop with Al-Anons. Next thing you know, we have them moving into our home so they can save money for their trip. I get real weird.
I don't have room.
Not with 6 kids, you don't. Karen, let's end this soon. Cause it's final countdown.
Oh my gosh,
5 minutes.
Time flies when you are having a recovery. Okay. Oh, I love this one. This is a great next question because I don't think the word detach is in our big book. Okay. So Nikki, how do you detach? We have a few questions on detachment. Okay, I'll just
Yes.
name both of them at once so you can just grab that detached topic as our last question. How do you detach with love from the raging alcoholic, from the raging Al-Anon member who is already blocked but is in contact with your mom and that they're taking their son to AA meetings? Okay, how do you detach from the alcoholic who, whatever seems to still have their
Yeah.
claws
So
in
it's
it?
called
And then one other question.
Oh,
How do
okay.
you detach with love from alcoholic family members and how do you describe detachment? Say what you want on detachment, then we'll pray this thing out.
Okay, let's go deep here and then we'll get it. And then we'll just pray this thing out. I
Then
love
we'll
you all.
detach for the day. Then we'll detach for the day.
Yeah, we'll detach from all these emotions, all these things, and serve God. So here it is. In Al-Anon, it's called loving detachment. And I had to recently do that with a baby in my home. You know, one of my sponsees chose crack over her baby, and the baby was in my home. And when the baby left after 3 months, I had to lovingly detach from this outcome of what's going to happen. And I'm going to tell you how you do it. It's so simple. You trust God. You clean house by working the 12 steps of Alcoholics Anonymous, of Al-Anon, exactly as prescribed in your Al-Anon literature or as prescribed in the 12 steps of Alcoholics Anonymous through the big book, and you help others. That's how simple it is to lovingly detach. You trust the most powerful God in the universe. You clean house by working the 12 steps of what program you're in every day, all day, and you help others. It's that simple, but not easy. I'm Nikki M, an intelligent agent, spearhead of God's ever advancing creation. I love every single soul on this planet. Thank you, Karen, for the opportunity to give back what was so freely given to me. I love you.
I love you too, Nikki. Put your number in the chat. You guys are all part of our God Squad all the time, anytime. I keep the Jewish Sabbath, but that's good. I'll get to you later. And the one last thing on detachment is you just keep working these programs and God will do for you what you cannot do for yourself. And you trust that. And you trust that. Nikki, are you going to pray us out or is Stefano going to jump on in?
You know what? He went out to do some things, but I would have had him do it because he would have prayed us out. But I'm gonna pray us out. I forgot about that I pray us out. So
all good.
Let's do it with let's do it with the serenity prayer, because I know that we do that a lot in Al-Anon. I would say a big book prayer now, but I think we do a lot of, and if I can remember it, because I don't always say it, the serenity prayer, but God, grant us the serenity to accept the things we cannot change, the courage to change the things we can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Keep coming back. It works if you work it. Isn't that how it goes? Amen.
Yeah, amen. Thank you. Live from Luxembourg and Jerusalem and multiple destinations around the world. Check us out at Reco12.com if you want to unmute to say thank you. I have now enabled you to do that.
Thank you. Thank you. Lovely. The best.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Love you, family. Thanks, Karen.
Okay, get a sponsor, get a workbook, work your 12 steps, including step 12, people. It works if you work it.
There was a man put his hand by the side of his mouth, and he wanted to scream, but the sound never came out. So he reached for the bottle to wash the pain away, 'cause what he wanted so badly was to live a different way. And all of his problems and all of his pain on sinking to the bottom of the lake, and he knew for certain that he was just a fake, just a fake. Was a man put his hand by the side of his mouth, and he wanted to share, but only lies ever came out. So he reached for the needle to numb the pain inside, and the truth that he yearned for shriveled up and died. And all of his problems, and all of his pain, filled up the puddle, rose with the rain. The ship kept on sinking to the bottom of the lake. Just a fake, just a What lives in the darkness dies in the light. Yeah, what lives in the darkness dies in